Okay, so welcome to the consulting call for Senior Leads. We're going to go very quickly because your time is valuable. So if you would, please remove any distractions, shut off your cell phone, close your email program, close the magazine on your desk. Do grab a pen and paper for a few notes. And please stay on the call the entire time, which is about 35 minutes. Unfortunately, there's a correlation between those who leave early and those who fail with the system, and we certainly don't want that to be you. So our agenda very quickly today is I'll go over the four most critical steps to success with the system. We'll look at three problems you'll encounter. I'll show you how to solve them so there won't be problems any longer. We'll spend a little time looking at what to say to a prospect to make them more likely to set an appointment, using our resources to leverage your earnings, and then I'll be happy to answer questions at the in about 30 minutes when we open it up for the Q&A session. So if you haven't done so already, you want to listen to the orientation call in the back office. You know, we've given you a username and a password. You log in, and on the left side there's some links, and one of those links says orientation call. It's a recording that answers every question that begins with how do I. How do I print my booklets? How do I pause my leads? How do I change my prospect types? How do I change my credit card? Any question begins with that, it's answered in that call, so very important to listen to it. It's less than 20 minutes because if you don't, you'll always be fumbling in terms of managing your account, not know exactly what to do. This call we call the consulting call. We do it every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And the content from 9 to 9:30 each time is the same. However, there's a couple reasons we encourage you to return to the call. Number one, if you'd mark on your calendar about 3 weeks from now, pick a Tuesday or Thursday, and come back to the call. Here's why. By that time, you'll obviously have spoken to a number of prospects, you'll had some appointments, and you'll have a different level of experience and a different point of view. So if you listen in on the call again, you will pick up things that even though you may hear today, they don't sink in, or they don't have as much meaning as they will after you've actually worked with the system. The second reason to return to the call is you could come right to the question and answer session, say at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, because maybe you have a problem, issue, or hurdle that requires kind of a dialogue, you know, with somebody live, and you need to solve something or, you know, fix something, and you're not sure how to do it. Well, you know, either myself or one of the other moderators will be here, so it's a place to get, you know, live quality support. Now, of course, you can get support at any other time. At any time, you can always, from your back office, just send a support ticket in with any question or issue or problem, and you'll get an answer generally the same day. You know, if it's before 4 p.m. Pacific, you'll pretty much get an answer the same day. Now, the way you send the support ticket, by the way, from your back office when you're logged in like this, it's right over here. You just click this link, and a ticket will pop up, and you say what you need. Now, you don't even have to wait for a response because 99% of the things that people ask, we've already answered in this list here. You know, people, well, how do I change my credit card? Or can I see what I was billed for the last billing of $209? What were those leads? Or, you know, how do I pause my account? Or, you know, how do I control my lead flow? Or I need to view my prospects. So in other words, we've already covered just about everything that somebody asked. So look through this list first, but clearly if you need help, send us a support ticket. Now, for 99% of the people, by the way, having the support be electronic like this works perfectly fine. There's about 1% of the people who need to do things by phone, so we do have that available. It's a premium service, it costs more, and I'll explain why in just a second. Now, let me switch gears for just a minute. You remember before we opened your account, or before we started your account, we gave you an agreement, and we had you, it was 2 pages, and we had you initial each paragraph and then sign and return it. And the purpose of that was to fully disclose exactly how the service works, so that later on you wouldn't be dissatisfied with something or think something should work one way when it really works another way. So we just fully disclose it in the beginning. Now, unfortunately, people after a week or two forget what was in that agreement. And that could lead to frustration because their brain starts thinking something works one way when we've already disclosed it works another way. And that's what causes frustration when your expectations aren't met. So at the end of this call, please don't go there now, but mark it down. Go to SeniorLeads.com/agree. That's where a copy of the agreement is. It'll only take you 4 minutes to review. It's only 2 pages, and it'll save you some frustration and maybe even irritation later because you'll know exactly the way everything works. Now, the things from the agreement most commonly that people forget or misinterpret or think it works a different way. Number one, all support's electronic. The reason we charge extra for phone support is because if we provided it just for everybody, it would raise the cost of the leads. The service would be more expensive. So what we do is, in an effort to keep the lead cost as low as possible, charge only those few people who need the phone support. So hopefully that makes sense. Secondly, your account is self-managing. It's totally web-based, and you can log in 24 hours a day, make changes anytime. There are some changes, however, you can only make the first and third Thursday of each month, and those are changes that impact your leads, your ads. So, for example, your prospect types, your central zip code, your radius, your zip codes, anything that would impact either the type of prospects you're looking for or the geography where you're looking for them, you can change twice a month, first and third Thursday. Now, why is that? We place your ads with large advertising networks. They won't allow us to change your ads every day. They allow us to change your ads twice a month, and those 2-week intervals come to an end at the first and third Thursday of each month. And those are the days when you can log in, make your changes, and the very next day on Friday would reflect your changes in your ads, and for the following 2 weeks, your changes would then be determining how we advertise for you. The other thing is we pay for your ads in advance. So you can only cancel your account the first or the third Thursday of each month because each Thursday we've paid for the next 2 weeks. So if you wanted to cancel 2 days later, we'd have to eat your leads for the next 12 days after that, and we just can't afford to do that. So anything affecting your ads, first and third Thursday of each month. Next, there's a pause feature available to you, and it's active 30 days after you started your account. So let's say you started your account with us on July 15th. Add 30 days, that'd be August 15th. So on August 15th, when you log in to your back office on the left, you'll see a link that says pause. It'll be active. You can click that and it'll pause your lead flow. So let's say over Labor Day in September, you go away for 10 days vacation. Notice here that it says that the pause feature, there's 30 days a year available to you. That's 30 days every 12 months. So let's say you go away for 10 days in September and you pause your leads. So you start with 30 days available to you. You use up 10, you come back from vacation, you have 20 left. Then let's say December, you go away for a week over the holidays. You pause your leads for 7 days. 20 minus 7, then you'd have 13 days left. So you get the idea that you use these 30 days however you want, on and off in any intervals you like. Next, some advisors and agents need this feature. It's a specific zip code option, so rather than having a central zip code and a radius, you can cherry pick your zip codes. You can say I want 11111, and then I want this zip code over here, but not the one next to it, and then I want 11114, and then like that. So if you need to be able to cherry pick your zip codes and be very granular in how you're doing that, maybe you're near the border of another state and you're only licensed in your state, so you need to just cherry pick the zip codes that are on your side of the border, that kind of thing. Or maybe some neighborhoods are not so good, or zip codes aren't so good, they have poor people or whatever. When you log into your back office on the left, you'll see a link. It's a specific zip code option, and it explains how you can use that feature. Next item. Assuming you have the account like most people do, which is a central zip code and a radius, the smallest radius when you log in that you can set your radius to is 10 miles. Now, that works for just about everybody. However, if you notice that you're receiving more than 5 leads in a 5-day period and you don't want that many, all you need to do is send a support ticket in and say, my radius is already at 10 miles. I've received more than 5 leads in 5 days. And our support staff will reduce your radius so that you're not receiving more than 5 leads in 5 days. In other words, you're not averaging more than a lead a day. I should mention, obviously, if let's say you're averaging 2 leads a day and you like that, then please ignore the sentence, because this sentence is for people who want to slow down their leads, not for people who are happy or want to increase the speed of the leads. Last on this page, every lead is guaranteed to have a valid phone, valid name, and valid physical address. Notice that those three items are either right or wrong. They're black and white. Unfortunately, the company cannot guarantee the lead. So when I say guaranteed, by the way, if any of these three, the phone, the name, or the address are wrong, we'll replace the lead. Unfortunately, we can't guarantee the leads for subjective items or things that are gray areas. For example, let's say you call up a prospect, turns out he doesn't have much money. However, another advisor says, well, geez, he had plenty of money for what I sell. I could have made a nice commission or fee. Or you call up a guy and you say, geez, can I get the lead replaced? The guy had an accent. I had trouble understanding him. Another advisor or agent says, I can understand him just fine. So you see there's gray areas, or there's things that for one person would make the lead good, for the other person not so good. And unfortunately, these are the only three things we can replace a lead for: phone, name, and address. All right, remember I said there were 4 high leverage, very important steps to success. Let's look at those. Number 1, there's an exercise you want to do that if you don't do it, as it says over here, you will lose money or sales guaranteed. We don't want that to happen to you. Here's the exercise. When you log into your back office, it looks like this. Read this information in the middle, then come over here and click this first red link. When you do, it'll change this information in the middle, so read it. Then come over here and click the second red link. It'll change the information in the middle, read that. Then the third red link, change the information, and so on and so forth. So you'll go down the entire list of red links. That whole exercise will take you 60 minutes. And you don't want to skip that. If every week we have at least one person that sends in a frantic support ticket and says, oh my goodness, this is happening. I mean, I have too many leads. I'm getting inundated. I don't know what to do. I can't afford this much money. And, our support staff says, no problem, we'll solve that for you. By the way, wouldn't have been a problem had you done this exercise, because there's a whole link here that says how to control your lead flow, and it shows you 5 different ways to do that. And, this is what happens to somebody who doesn't do this exercise, and we certainly don't want losing sales or money to happen to anybody. So please, click on each link, do this. In the next 72 hours, do this exercise. High leverage step number 2. In the course of doing that exercise I just talked about, one of the links you'll come across will say how to follow up. And when you click it, you'll be able to download this guide. It's called How to Follow Up on Your Prospects. Print it out and read it. It's short. And it's got 2 very important things in it. Number 1, it has the step-by-step process of exactly what to do from the moment you get a lead. Secondly, it has all the verbiage you might need. For example, when you send out your booklet, you want to send it with a cover letter. Well, you don't need to create that. We've already done that. It's in this guide. Just copy and paste it onto your letterhead. Or let's say you want to know, do we have a script documented for somebody who orders the rollover booklet? Absolutely. It's in this guide. So you can, look at it and practice it and get it really smooth before you start talking to prospects. So any spoken or written verbiage you need for the system, we've already created for you. So print this out, read it cover to cover. That way you'll know where everything is. Third most important thing we've noticed, the most successful advisors, if they have a problem, issue, or hurdle, they ask. You're paying us money to hopefully have a successful experience with the system. So if you have a problem or issue, ask. I think we know the answers to about 99.5% of the problems at this point. But there's still some people who think problems solve themselves. They won't solve themselves. And so if you have one, use us to get it cleared up or dissolved. Now, let's just talk a little bit more about getting a lead replaced. Should you receive a lead where the phone, address, or name is incorrect, when you log into here's how you get it replaced. You log into your back office, and on the left, one of the links says View Prospects. And when you click it, it'll bring up a table of your leads that looks like this. So for each lead, you'll have their name, phone, lead type, address, email. So let's say you call Mr. Castillo, and Mr. Castillo says, there's no Mr. Castillo here. My name is Stephen Brown. You say, Mr. Brown, did I dial 224-456-7058? He says, yeah. Do you live on East Walnut? He says, yeah. It's a strange thing. For my business, I had an offer on the internet for some free information about preparing for retirement. I got a request for it from a Thomas Castillo, your phone number at 1442 East Walnut. So that wasn't you? He says, no, I don't understand that. You say, listen, sorry to bother you. You come over here and click Request Credit. It'll say why. And you'll say the name was wrong. Give it about 48 hours, and you'll see the credit appear in your account. Now, Almost all the time it doesn't take 48 hours. It's usually done that same day. Why is there any delay at all? Because our staff validates every request for a credit. So if you say the name was wrong, they're going to call this phone number and ask for the name we gave you. Or if you say the phone number is wrong, they're going to dial a phone number to make sure it connects. Or if you say the address is wrong, we require that you either fax or scan us a copy of the returned envelope. So the point is that please don't abuse the system, because if you send in a request for credit, here over here, say the phone was wrong, and then we call it and it's right, you'll get this email from the client services that says, sorry, but your request for credit is being declined because you submitted a request that just wasn't truthful. And they'll also say, if that's done again, we'll have to close your account. So you don't want to abuse this service, because they assume anybody who abuses it is doing it willingly and not by mistake. So please use this exactly as it's designed. If a phone address or name is incorrect, request a credit. You'll find it works efficiently, it works very well, and you'll get a replacement for every lead you should. High leverage step number 4. So for the ladies who use our system, this is much easier. For us guys, this is much more challenging, which is to follow the instructions. Because it seems like us gentlemen have a gene that says when somebody gives us an instruction, either ignore it or do the opposite. Please don't do that. Please try and fight that genetic orientation, because it can get very expensive when you do it your way rather than following the instructions. Let me just share with you a comment from John, an advisor on the system who had this experience and just speaks to this issue. You'll hear him in a second.
Yes, there is. Number one, and first and foremost, go through the training. I mentioned this earlier, but this is my second time around. When I say second time around, I had done this for a month before, and I did not get an appointment. I did not get an appointment and thought, this doesn't work, waste money. And number one, it wasn't waste that much money because the leads are so inexpensive. But what I did is I went back and I actually went through the training, because I knew people that were having success doing this. So I knew it worked. I just knew I was doing something wrong. So went back, went through the training, and, it's just night and day. Now I'm getting a good reception. Before, I wasn't, just because I was using my own script. So if you do this, take the time, you're making an investment, take the time to go through the training and basically study. There's a 25-page on how to contact your clients. Study that and learn from it, and that's what I basically do. The main thing that I learned from it is to find out why they actually clicked on whatever they clicked on.
Let me clarify a couple things John said. The very last thing he said, the main thing he learned was to find out the prospect's motivation, to find out what made them fill out that form on the internet. And we'll look at that in just a second, but just put that in the back of your head for now. The second thing John said was go through the training. Well, what does he mean by that? Well, it's what we've already mentioned. You'll listen to the orientation call in your back office. You'll do the exercise, that 60-minute exercise where you click on each link in the back office and you read what's there. You'll print out a copy of your guide and read it, how to follow up on your prospects. And then in 3 weeks, you'll return to another consulting call. If you add that all together, including your time today, it's a total of about 3.5 hours. Not a very big time investment to make the difference between total failure, which is what John had when he was with the service the first time and he did it his way and ignored the instructions. And then when he came back and decided, you know what, I'm going to follow their instructions this time. And what did he say? Night and day. So no reason to do what John did the first time. Now you know what already happens. Just follow all the instructions from the beginning. Make life easy for yourself. One other comment I want to share with you. Javi in New York writes us an email. He says, look, this is not just any other lead program. It's more of an approach that allows me to warmly introduce myself to prospects. See, what Javier thought at the very beginning, what most advisors and agents think is that, I'll get these leads and some will be more motivated than others. He says, so the people who are more motivated, I'll set an appointment with them. I'm good at talking to people and I'll get new clients. And those people who are less motivated, no problem. I'll just put them on my drip marketing system and, maybe I'll give them one call in 4 months from now and see if they, want to meet, whatever. Well, what Javier found out was during the first 2 weeks on the system, He didn't get appointments with either the motivated or the strongly motivated or the weakly motivated people. And that's because he was following his own script and didn't even look at our materials. So he decided, like John, I better go back and actually follow their script. So he pulls out his guide, how to follow up on the prospects, and he really practices the script we had there, and he role-played it with one of the guys in his office until he got it down really smooth, really strong, sounded really great. And then he gets back on the phone. Not only does he start getting appointments and new clients from some of the more strongly motivated prospects, he starts closing appointments with even the people who are saying, geez, I'm just looking, I'm not sure yet. He starts closing appointments with them and even getting new clients from them. So here's the point. Your success or failure with the system is not dependent upon whether a particular lead is strong or weak. It's much more dependent upon, is your presentation strong or weak? And that's why we harp so much on this issue of going through the training and adhering to the instructions, because the presentation you make makes all the difference. And it's one that is not intuitive, so you just don't want to wing it based on what you think will work. Okay, let's switch gears and let's look at 3 problems you'll encounter and how to solve them. Okay, problem number 1. You'll call prospects up, and either the phone always rings or you get voicemail. Okay, what do? First, we recommend you call 3 different times on 3 different days. So let's say call the first day at 8 a.m., which is a good time to call. If you don't get them on the phone, call a different day, mid-afternoon, say between 1 and 4 p.m. If you still don't get them on the phone, call a third day at 7 p.m. Now, if you want to call more than 3 times, it's up to you, but by this time you'll have gotten in touch with most of the people, and then you might want to just try the second recommendation. In your guide, How to Follow Up on Your Prospects, you'll find a follow-up email. Send it. It doesn't work for every prospect, but some prospects, when they receive it, will call you. And when you read what it says, you'll see why it motivates some prospects to do that. Third, we highly recommend you make these calls to prospects from your cell phone or your residential landline rather than a business landline. Because in most of the country, if you dial the phone, let's say you're at Morgan Stanley and you're in your office and you use your office phone, when you dial out from a business landline, if the prospect is at home looking at their caller ID, it says the name of the business. It'll say Morgan Stanley. So prospects think to themselves, well, I don't have any accounts with Morgan Stanley. Somebody must have misdialed, and they don't pick up the phone. However, if you call from your cell phone or a residential landline, when they look at the caller ID, what do they see? It's a 10-digit local number. And they say, oh, local call. Well, this must be somebody who knows me. And they pick it up. If you still have any stragglers after these 3 steps, when you don't go there now, you'll get distracted, but just mark it down. Go to dripmarketing.net. Take a look at our drip marketing system, which is very effective at getting people motivated. If you either don't get them on the phone or you do get them on the phone, but they won't set an appointment, this is a tool that's been very effective at dripping on people and converting them from prospects to clients at some later time. So you'll look at that later after a week or 2 if you've got some stragglers you need to start dripping on. Okay, next problem. People say, I didn't order any booklet, or I don't remember ordering any information. Don't freak out. I'm going to show you how to get appointments with these people. But why do they say this? Why does this come up? Well, what did you have for lunch on Sunday? Now, unless you're listening to this on Sunday afternoon, you probably don't remember. And the reason you don't remember is it's insignificant. You just don't make a mental note of what I had for lunch. Similarly, filling out a form on the internet, people have been doing it now for 20 years. They've requested all kinds of downloads, a free analysis of the value of their home, life insurance quote, who knows what. They've been filling out forms for years and years and years, and filling out forms has become an insignificant item. They do it all the time, and they forget that they do it. So that's why people will say that to you. Don't freak out. Very simple response. Mrs. Smith says to you, I don't remember ordering anything. I didn't order any booklet. You just say, well, Mrs. Smith, let me check something. Is your address 1212 Jones Street? She says, yeah. And your phone number, it's 4567058, right? She says, yeah. And your email is dorothy@gmail.com, right? Yeah. Now she's starting to think to herself, well, how would you have my name, my address, my phone, my email all in one place? Well, maybe I did fill something out. And without taking a breath, you say, well, let me ask you, Mrs. Smith, What would have motivated you to want information about annuities or whatever the topic they requested information about? Oh, she says, every time I complain to my next door neighbor, he's a really sophisticated investor, about the rates, the terrible rates I get at the bank. He always says I should get some fixed annuities. I'll earn much more. Bingo. Mrs. Smith has just revealed her motivation. And once you get the prospect to reveal their motivation, it becomes much easier to close an appointment. And in your guide, How to Follow Up on Your Prospects, we show you how to go from the motivation to closing the appointment. So what we found out was something very interesting. Even though people often don't remember insignificant actions like filling out a form on the internet, they do remember why they did it. They do remember their motivations. So that's why this question, what would have motivated you to want information about, tends to be very powerful and gets the conversation on track where it needs to be. Okay, third problem. People say, I'm not interested. You can avoid this. It almost always comes up if you open the call the wrong way. And out of habit, a lot of people open a call to a prospect and it sounds like this. Ding, ding. Mrs. Smith says hello. You say, Mrs. Smith, this is Bob Richards with ABC Financial. And you were on the internet the other day and you requested some information about retirement. And that's the reason I'm calling. Bad opening. Much better opening we found. It's a little odd. It's a little weird. But if it gets you more appointments, will you use it? That's what we found. So let me just tell you, of course, we've documented this for you in your guide, How to Follow Up on Your Prospects. But let me give you a sample, a quick role play with myself of what the right opening sounds like. It sounds something like this. Ding, ding. Mrs. Smith says hello. I say, Mrs. Smith? She says, yeah. I say, Mrs. Smith, I had to call you up. A tremendous coincidence happened this week, and I just had to call you up and tell you about it, meet you over the phone. By the way, I'm a neighbor of yours. My name is Bob. I live over here on Broadway. You're over there on Main Street, right? She says, yeah. Let me tell you this coincidence that happened. For my business, I had some free information offered on the internet about retirement, preparing for retirement. Apparently, you came across it and filled out your information. That's how I have your number and your name and your street address. Apparently, you filled it out. And when I saw your request, I thought this is such a coincidence because it was on the internet. Anybody could have seen it 500, 1,000, 2,000 miles away, anywhere. And here, you live right across town from me. I thought, what are the chances of that? It's pretty amazing. How long have you lived here in Toledo? Oh, well, all my life. Well, so have I. Did you go to Toledo High? Well, yeah, I did. Well, maybe we were in school together at the same time. I graduated in 1990. What about you? Oh, no, she says, I was in the class of 69. I think maybe my children may have been around your year. Well, what are their names? Well, I have two boys, Robert and Tim. Robert and Tim Smith. It doesn't ring a bell. But I'll tell you what, I know you're busy. What would have motivated you to want information about 401k or IRA rollovers? Oh, she says, I'm retiring at the end of this year. I read this article not to leave your money in the 401k, to get it out of there right away. And bingo. You now have her motivation. She wants to avoid the high fees that are left in 401ks, and she wants to get it rolled over. So, you'll notice that all we are is maybe 4 or 5 minutes into this, hypothetical call I'm making. And notice, have I told her my last name? Have I told her my company name? Any other formalities? No. We'll get to all that when it comes time to set an appointment. But you don't have to blurt that stuff out the first sentence. Hello, this is Bob Richards. I'm with ABC Financial. And the reason I'm calling it. All that stuff is not what you want to put in the first 30 seconds. So you'll look in your guide, How to Follow Up on Your Prospects. You'll see how to open this call to get a personal relationship going. One of the advisors, when he came back 3 weeks later on the call, he mentioned he found it's helpful. He always looks their address up on Google Maps, so he finds some kind of landmark near them. So he calls, such a coincidence, Mr. Jones, blah, blah, blah. By the way, do you live over near that Olympic-sized pool, that swim club where there was a crack in the foundation and it flooded 5 of the homes across the street? He says, you're not going to believe this. I was one of the 5 homes. Bingo. Now they got something to talk about. So you got the idea. Just relate to people on a neighbor-to-neighbor, person-to-person level. Okay. Last issue. people are always concerned about objections. Geez, what if I get this objection? What do I say? So there's only, I think, 4 of them you'll ever hear. We give you the best responses in your guide, how to follow up on your prospects. But we want to share with you something really powerful that we learned, which is that you can avoid objections altogether. And the way you do that is when you're speaking to the prospect, always end your turn of speaking in a question. So if you think about a conversation, it's really like you have a turn to speak and then the prospect has a turn, then you have a turn, right? You take turns. Always end your turn with a question. No matter what you say during your turn, doesn't really matter. Just make sure that before you finish speaking, end with a question. If you do that, we found that the prospect forgets the objection that they were thinking about. The other advantage it has when you do that is when you continually ask questions, you uncover their motivation much more quickly and you close to an appointment much more quickly. Jack, an advisor on the system, just addresses this. Just want you to hear the comment he shares. We thought it was useful. You'll hear him in a second.
Jack, was there anything specific in the training that we provide or the consulting that you think was most valuable?
Yeah, I'll go back to the question-based profiling. Don't tell what you do, ask what they want. And I've read about that and I've studied it. I've been in sales since about 1978. So let's say 1980. I don't want to date myself too much, but I guess the cat's out of the bag. I've already done that. But at any rate, if you're using what I'll refer to as manipulative sales techniques, I don't believe you're going to be as successful as you go through this as you would be if you used question-based profiling, where you continually keep asking and drilling down finer and finer questions. It takes some practice. They give you examples of that. They give you scripts of it. But, yeah, I would say the most valuable thing is follow what they tell you to do, be timely on what you do. If you do it in the way that's recommended, you're going to find out that it works.
All right, Jack says it very simply. By the way, there's a picture of a guy, the prospect, he's forgetting his objection. Okay, so let's see if there's any questions we can answer. And so what I want to do is open the call to two-way mode so everybody can hear the questions and hear the answers. So if you've been making any background noise like, tapping your pen on the desk or, eating peanuts and cracking the shells or having a conversation with somebody next to you or coughing into the phone, if you could hold up on that or press your mute button as a courtesy to everybody so that there's no background noise in the call. And if you've done that, let me open it up to two-way mode.